Kobe, did Red Bull give up on De Vries too soon, and is it unfair to make him a scapegoat for what's been a down year for AlphaTauri across the board?
To be honest, Ben, I'm not really sure how you can write off a driver after just 10 races during the season. He's a Formula One rookie. I understand, he's 28 years old, lot older, spent multiple seasons in Formula 2 and, in seasons in Formula E as well. But still, Formula One is different compared to any other racing series in the world. And I think that when you're a rookie driver, you certainly need time. But I know this is what have you done for me lately. And it seems like rookies aren't given enough time to develop as drivers. And I think De Vries also dealt a bad hand with the AlphaTauri, which could very well be the worst car on the grid this year. So I'm not really sure what more he could have done with that. His teammate Yuki Tsunoda hasn't really done much better than him, but it's still been quite a struggle for Nyck de Vries. It's super unfortunate to see him become the latest casualty of the Red Bull driver program, which is one of the cruelest programs in all of motorsports, it seems. And I brought this up on the new social media app Threads to show you how cruel this is. They didn't even let the guy run his home Grand Prix, the Dutch Grand Prix at Zandvoort. Like that, to me, that's just cold. And I remember when the rumors were coming out that De Vries might get dropped. The rumors were saying that he had until his home Grand Prix to get it together, or he could get dropped. But Red Bull went ahead and got rid of him before he could even go race in the Netherlands. So I think that's extremely cold. If they wanted to do justice by De Vries and wanted to move on, I think it would have been nicer to at least let him run his last race at home at Zandvoort and then just be done with him. I think that would have been the courteous thing to do, but Red Bull couldn't even let him have that moment. I'm sure when Nyck de Vries found out the moment he was going to be a Formula One driver, every driver on the grid, their first home Grand Prix is a moment you're never going to forget. And I'm sure as soon as he signed the ink with AlphaTauri, he's thinking, this is going to be one of the biggest celebrations for me, racing at home in front of my home fans. And now Nyck de Vries is never gonna be able to do that, and it's just so super unfortunate to see how his entire situation has unfolded with him. And got a comment in the chat room from Adam Limmer who's agreed and said, "You feel so bad for Nyck de Vries. He's a great driver with loads of talent." Yes, it's certainly a super sad situation to see the young Dutchman so out of Formula One so soon.
Did they give up on De Vries too soon? Almost certainly. 10 races is nothing. Similar but different situation. We've got 3 rookies. Logan Sargent really hasn't done a great deal in a similarly performing Williams, although Alex Albon was very good in it over the last couple of weeks, especially this weekend at Silverstone. It just smacks of some, I don't know, as Kobe mentioned, the Red Bull driver program has just been like this for the last few years. Obviously, we saw the Max Verstappen and Danny Kvyat swap around a couple of years ago, Gasly and Albon as well. After that, it's a shame, real shame for Nyck, as you mentioned, Ben. Double world champion in Formula E, Formula 2 champion. The guy is talented. He's no smuck driving around there at the back of the field. He will surely pick up a drive, more than likely in WEC. I would feel probably one of the hypercar teams would like to have him as part of their lineup for next year. But real shame for Nyck, who, yes, he's been off the pace of Tsunoda, but Tsunoda in his first season kind of was in a similar vein of results. And after the halfway point and the summer break, he did then become, picked up the baton and got going. It's a bit like soccer managers, isn't it? You just don't get time at the start of a season if you've lost a good chunk of games. If you can get sacked before Christmas in the European leagues, it's kind of feels a little bit like the same like that. He just really hasn't got time to get his feet under the table, get comfortable with the car and the team and the surroundings, and put an effort in to show that he's deserving of the seat. It's a real shame for him.
Matt, it's funny you bring that up because the soccer managers here in the States are the same way. I'm a Philadelphia Union fan, and I can tell you we got off to a slow start with our soccer team this year, and Jim Curtin's been the MLS coach of the year 2 of the last 3 years, and they still want him sacked anyway. So maybe that's just Philly sports fans, maybe that's soccer fans, but I get what you're saying there with that analogy. Iron Kong 26 says De Vries got a raw deal. Yuki ain't that good either, but he's safe. We'll get to that in just a moment. Rod Brown says, I think Ricardo has mates mob looking after him, seems to get a lot of free passes. All right, fair enough. And behind the mic, Matthew Owens says, I find this terrible and honestly unprofessional. To give a young rookie half a season to prove himself is wildly unrealistic. I hate it. Matthew, I agree 100%. And I'm going to even take it a step further here. This deeply, deeply bothers me. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that Nyck de Vries is a better, more proven Formula One driver than Daniel Ricciardo. But I am going to tell you that Nyck de Vries was a rookie in what, to the points that, we all have made so far, arguably the worst car AlphaTauri has put forward in the AlphaTauri era. Maybe there were a couple of cars that Toro Rosso built in the 2010s that weren't, very good either. But, I don't know what more you could have expected him to do. And it's not like, if you want proof of that, it's not like Yuki Tsunoda is bringing home a bag of points every weekend. He's got 2 points all year. So he's really struggled as well to get the car up to speed. The entire team's having a down year. I don't think you can fault Nyck de Vries for having 0 points after 10 races, just as I don't think you can fault Logan Sargent for having 0 points. He got very close at Silverstone coming in P11, so he's knocking on the door. But, we're hearing these rumors that maybe Mercedes want to slide Mick Schumacher into that Williams seat and kick Logan Sargent out after half a year. And that obviously we can be biased here in the United States, our first F1 driver in 8 years. But, I just looking at it objectively as well, how can you only give a rookie half a season to prove himself and get up to speed in what's certainly one of the worst 2 cars on the grid, maybe the worst overall, given the pace that Williams showed this weekend at Silverstone. So it really bothers me. And I understand why they made the change that they made, putting Daniel Ricciardo in, and we'll get into what's going on in the senior Red Bull team here in just a moment as well. But to kick a proven F2 champion and Formula E champion out of his seat after just 10 races, it really does not sit well with me. And to be honest, neither has a lot of what the Red Bull program has done over the years, making these driver changes mid-season. It's kind of become a trend that we've seen every so often with these 2 teams here that they have. Seems like nobody, I guess Max Verstappen's safe for obvious reasons, but other than that, nobody's safe in the long term if you're part of the Red Bull family, and that's really, really unfortunate to see.
It's really interesting because Daniel Ricciardo was kind of in the same spot last year where, it seemed like he was on his way out. Of course, Oscar Piastri replacing him at McLaren. And now you see a rookie who doesn't even have a Grand Prix win, doesn't even have a Grand Prix point under his belt, getting kind of the shaft now. So it's very unfortunate to see. But I think this is a good opportunity for the team to really have someone come in, shake it down, shake their cars down. But we'll get to that in a little bit.
Don't forget Monza. We mentioned Nick came in for the Il Alex Albon, scored points on his F1 debut. He was the next big thing at that point. All the whole F1 stories were about where would Nyck de Vries end up. And then there was the Colton Herta thing. I bet Colton saw that news yesterday and had a wry smile that he didn't end up. I know he's not having a great season in IndyCar, granted, but he may have had a wry smile that he didn't end up getting the seat over the winter at AlphaTauri alongside Tsunoda.
Yeah, and that was a car, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know, but Latifi scored a single point all year last season in that car. De Vries had one opportunity, and he picked up a couple of Monza. Granted, that's been one of Williams' better tracks over the last couple of years. But I agree with you. I think Colton Herta is maybe breathing a sigh of relief that he didn't get involved with this Red Bull program, just as another American Scott Speed did many years ago here